Hey, how are you?
Howdy. So I'm 24. I work in a slaughterhouse, meaning I see plenty of animals go through there on a daily basis. Now, you said billions. I'm going to call bullshit on that because I know the actual facts. There's about
Well,
426,000 cows that go through my plant every 6 months.
right. But do you
So
understand
it's
that the
billions. So
world,
you can't just make up lies and call
hold
them
on,
facts.
hold on. The Sentience Institute says there's about 90 billion animals per year. Okay, that's the source. And you can go on the USDA and figure out these
What
numbers.
source?
Hold on. Sentience Institute and the USDA has these numbers where they're talking about 90 billion animals that are being farmed per year, right? Let alone the trillions of fish that we catch. Okay, so it's not just the ones in your slaughterhouse. Second of all, let's just forget that. What's the good reason to slaughter these animals? What justifies doing that when you know it, you don't have to?
They're a food source.
Well, so is a person could be a food source. You can eat a
That's
person.
immoral and inhumane
Okay, so why is it immoral to kill a person for food, but okay to kill a cow for food?
because the cow was put on. I'm having a hard time understanding your viewpoint. Like I'm all willing to try to grasp what you're saying, but at the same time, it's illogical. It's purely illogical. The nonsense you're throwing out there.
Look, I'm vegan because I want to be consistent. I don't want to
Okay.
harm animals for the same reasons I don't want to harm people. Because animals are conscious, they're sentient, they're aware. They don't want to die and they don't have to.
Okay. Let
So
me throw
that's
this
why I'm
point
vegan.
out to you. Do you know how many animals are killed? I'm talking in your little billion spectrum to get your harvest for your
Far
plants and your
yes,
lettuce and what
far
all and
less
whatnot,
animals are killed than
pesticides
crops.
and all the mice and whatnot eating all the birds. So what do
Okay,
you what do you say about that? Your harvest?
let me explain here, sir.
Oh, okay.
Far more crop deaths occur because of animal farming. You know why? Because we have to grow all those crops to feed your animals. So far more crop deaths occur because of animal eaters. So vegans are minimizing crop deaths. First of all. Second of all, we don't consider crop deaths a rights violation because we're not actively taking away the rights of a squirrel that happens to come around and eat a pesticide-ridden crop and die later on. We don't control that. We can't stop that. We have to eat our food to survive, and taking away
And
the
that's
rights to
what
something
meat
we care
eaters do.
about. We're not doing that to a squirrel or a cricket.
I mean, don't get me wrong, squirrel gumbo's pretty good. You should try it. But that's beside the point. See, I grew up, if you kill it, you eat it. You over here
Okay,
saying that you
so
don't
you
kill
go
all
ahead
these
and
other animals and just eat the plants. That don't make no sense to
I
me.
understand you grew up that way, sir, but the problem is that you're causing excess suffering and harm.
In which way, shape, or form? Because if that deer that I shot that I'm fixing to get and bring home to my family to feed, because we can't afford to go to the store, what
Even though
what
you
gives
work a
you the right
job,
to say I can't kill that deer and feed my family?
even though you have a job making money, you can't go to the store.
Okay. Have you seen the economy in the last 10 years? It's pretty freaking rough out here for us blue collars.
Okay,
I mean,
well,
we
if
don't
you can
have money
afford,
given to us by
okay,
daddy
well,
like you
if
do.
you can afford bullets for your gun and bow and arrows for your arrow, well, you can afford beans. You can afford rice. They're some of the cheapest foods on the planet,
That
and
don't that don't sustain. Red meat is protein.
so are beans.
In which way, shape, or form besides a flavor?
Beans have all the essential amino acids. They have protein, in fact, per calorie as much as a meat or a steak does. Beans are very
I
nutrient
don't
dense.
believe that one bit. I'm not gonna lie with you, Bubba. I
Well,
don't believe that one
you
bit.
can look it up. Beans have, I think lentils have about 15 grams of protein per cup.
per cup. Okay,
Yeah.
so
You can
I
eat
can get
two.
that
You can eat a
thrice
serving. You can eat
more
two
from a
servings.
steak.
You can eat all throughout the day. You have all the beans and rices and all these foods and grains. You're going to get enough protein. It's not. It's not very hard at all.
All right. Well, moving on to the second one. That's just delusion in and of itself. Straight delusion.
Okay. What's your argument? What's
I
your
can
logical
argue
argument?
civilly with the vegan part. We can go back and forth till we're blue in the face with the vegan part. But your second option down there, it is straight delusion because I heard y'all talking about how if one of them people, I ain't gonna deny them humanhood. If you're a human, you're a human. Everybody deserves a chance at life. I believe that. But at the same time, you're not fixing to tell me why you got a pair of plastic tits on your chest and meat and taters below your legs.
We're not doing that. I'm sorry.
Yo,
Hello. How are you?
yeah, I'm good.
Now we can.
Yeah, I disagree with both points
Okay.
very
Your argument.
strongly. Yeah, okay, so which one should I? Guess we'll do the trans women. So, you're saying that they, like, are women, or you're just saying they're changing their gender?
You can't change your gender, right? They are women. You can't change your gender in the sense
Okay,
that
so,
you think you can label. You can identify something different, but you can't change your gender because gender is indexed to the brain.
okay, so you can't just change who you are. Like, it causes all types of problems. Sorry, 1 second. But, yeah,
What's your counter? I don't hear it.
okay, so you just like can't like change who you are. Like you can't just say you're a cat. Just like you can't just say
Cat
randomly
is
one
not a
day you can be a
gender.
woman.
A cat is not a gender. You can't change species.
Okay, yeah, I'm talking.
You
Well,
can't
we're talking about
identify as a
sex.
different species because you're just not that different species. But gender is a bit deeper. It has to do with your internal sense. It's something that you can't see with your eyes and outside. It's something that has to do with your inside of your brain. And people that are trans are simply people that are born with a different brain type that is not in alignment with the one that people tell them they are. So,
So
but
a
my brain.
disability,
I'm sorry.
a disability.
It's not a disability. It's just like it's not a disability to be a cis guy or a cis woman. It's look. Imagine taking my brain and putting it into a female body. That's it. That's literally what a trans. That's analogous to what a trans person would be like. Um, and again, there are scientific studies that demonstrate gender comes from the brain.
Yeah, that's fine. Like you can feel a certain way and change your label, and like people can call you what you want, but that doesn't like change who you are or what you have. Yeah, like
Look,
you
you're
can
not
change your
really
gender.
addressing the concern. Look, do you understand that when I say trans woman or woman, it means that a woman is just a gender identity in which somebody aligns with female sex typical traits. So people that are trans are people that have brain types that align with female sex typical traits. That's all it means.
Yeah, yeah. So it just like a
So
man,
what's your
like
con- so why is that false, right? Show me why that's false. You're not doing that.
no, I think we're arguing two different things. You're just saying how someone feels, but I'm just saying like what they are.
No, I'm not sure. It's not how you feel, right? It's like the wiring of your brain is how you think as a person, right? The reason why I think I'm a man is because of my brain wiring, my hypothalamus, the white matter, the gray matter, all the different parts of my brain just drive the way my sense of gender. And in the same case, does it to many other people, everybody else. People that are trans are simply people that are born with a brain type that is aligned with the gender identity they have, not the one that they were given at birth. I don't think
Okay,
you quite understand what I'm telling you.
no. What you're saying is like it's mental. It's not physical, is what you're
It's
saying.
neurochemical.
So yeah, but that's just like not like you can't go off that because anybody could just be lying on like what they think or feel. You got to go off of actual evidence and stuff that you actually can prove.
Yeah, but the problem is that we can. The problem is that it's more nuanced than just, oh, I feel like I'm a woman today. It's more nuanced that there are psychological, there are neurochemical reasons why people do this and think this way. It's not just like, oh, I feel like I'm a woman today, ha ha ha. It's deeper than that, and you're not your character. You're it's a caricature to do that. I want a reason why this is false. You're not really showing me why. You're just saying, oh, I don't believe it.
I'm not saying that's false. I'm just not saying.
Okay.
I agree that it's not false.
I don't think you're quite up to grips with this kind of discussion.
Hello?
Hey,
So,
what's up, man? What do you got?
the you should be vegan deal. I think they're both ridiculous, but I think I can argue the vegan one a little better.
Okay.
Of I think why you should be vegan. I think you guys kill more animals producing your food than say I do raising my own beef and killing it. If one life is worth the same as another,
We're not saying that, right? So,
so you
no,
consider
let
every
me.
animal life is equal to each other.
No, that's irrelevant whether or not I consider a life equal or not. The point is that all animals have sufficient value such that we shouldn't harm them. Now, in the case of your beef, whatever you're saying, I kill less animals. Well, that's not what veganism means. It's not just who kills less animals. Number one. Number two, if everybody were to just kill have their own little farm, that would still on a global scale be 8 billion animals. So you're not reducing the harm that you think you are. Thirdly, most crops are grown for the animals that you kill. Like, where do you get your feed for the animals? You have to grow the damn crops.
Have
So
you heard of grass-fed beef?
yes, and grass fed is a small portion of all the total feed that we give to the animals. So again, on a global scale, if you're not thinking globally, on a global scale, you're causing way more harm. And thirdly and fourthly, you're not vegan to do so because you're still negating the principles of veganism, which is to not cause any rights violations, which you are to the cow.
But you guys are killing animals growing your crops, correct?
But there's
Yeah.
no rights
Whether
violations
it's
being harmed.
uninvertedly or not, you
There
are.
are no rights violations being done to those animals in crop fields. We're not taking away the rights to life.
You're just taking away their homes, plowing them underground.
No, we're not taking away their homes.
You're
They have
plowing
a
their homes
whole
in.
world to live in. We're not taking away their home. The problem is that you're killing way more crops. If you think that crop death is a problem, you're killing way more,
Do you?
and you're causing
Can
way
I ask
more
you a
harm
question?
than we are.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
How many pounds of corns does it take to finish out a beef till butcher?
I don't know, but do you have a reason why you think it's okay to slaughter animals?
I think it's justifiable. I think it's a
What
good source
justifies
of food.
slaughtering a cow, but not a person?
I think it's a good source of food.
Okay, so is a person a good source of food, right? Again, it wouldn't be ethical to kill a person, would it?
No, and there's laws against that, isn't there?
Okay, so just because somebody is a source of food doesn't mean we should kill them.
There's laws against that, though, right?
Okay, so if there were no laws against killing people, you would do it?
No.
Right. So forget the laws, right? We're talking about morality purely. And ethically speaking, you wouldn't want to kill a person for food, even though they're nutrient dense. Human meat is nutrient dense. We have lots of nutrients. But it doesn't mean we should kill people for their meat, right? In the same sense, I don't think it's okay to do it to the cows because we can eat plant based food.
So you think we can produce enough food and keep the economy rolling?
Absolutely.
How so?
Because we already grow most of our crops for people. I mean, for the animals. They eat way more food than we do in terms of crops. So
Do you
we
know how
already,
long?
we already grow all these crops for the animals. We would actually save land and save food and save money by going vegan.
Do you understand the difference between the crop ground that is grown for animals versus human usage? Organic versus conventional?
Yes, I understand the difference. And
Do you know
even
how
with the
long it takes?
difference,
Do you know how long
e-
it takes to convert conventional farm ground to organic?
it doesn't matter.
Yes, it does.
No, it doesn't because
Because you would starve in the process
no,
of
we're not
converting
saying
it.
that tomorrow we're gonna go vegan tomorrow. That's not what I'm suggesting. What I'm
But
saying is that
in
there's
your
gonna be a
perfect world, it would be.
Ross. Shh. There's gonna be a process in which we'd have to change, but that's irrelevant. I'm talking about it in principle. In principle, what you're doing is not good for the animals, nor is it good for the planet, right? So what justifies doing what you're doing in principle?
How is running cattle on grassland not good for the planet?
Because it causes harm and methane and gases like that to leach into the atmosphere from the cows. Cows emit lots of methane. But that's besides the point. We're talking
So
about also the
they're
moral
gonna
aspect.
fart us to the end of the world, huh?
Well, they do emit lots of methane, which is causing the climate to change.
What about the fertilizer they put back onto the ground for the plants to grow?
We don't need cows for that. We can get fertilizer from other sources.
What is a more natural source of fertilizer than cows?
We don't need a natural source of fertilizer. We can just do synthetic, and but that's besides the point. We're talking about ethics. You keep forgetting about the
So
ethics.
you think synthetic fertilizer is better for the ground than organic fertilizer?
I don't think it matters what's better for the ground. I think
You
what
were
matters
just saying
is
it's bad for the earth
better.
to run cattle.
Ross. We're talking about ethics. This is an ethics point. And yes, even though it's still worse for the environment, I think to do any kind of cattle ranching, it's still better ethically to do it to go vegan. So I'm asking you, what ethically justifies slaughtering animals?
I think they're a viable source for us to use.
All right. I just can't. Hey, how are
Hello.
you?
Pretty good. I feel like the argument is always stacked. I think you're picking the wrong battles. I
All
think,
right. So do you have a counter argument for these, or should I
yes,
just?
yes, I do. That
Okay.
you cannot qualify that plants aren't sentient. I can qualify it. Yeah, go ahead and shake your fucking head.
All right.
Now answer the
So
question.
demonstrate. Okay. So demonstrate that plants are sentient. And
Okay, so there's been a study back in the fucking 50s or 60s. You can find this on YouTube called, I don't know why they named it this. It's called Marijuana is, or Bigger Than Flat Earth, Marijuana is the Christ. I have no idea why they named it from that. The point is, they did an experiment where they hooked up some kind of device to a cabbage. You can shake your fucking head. You ask for the goddamn answer, and you think you fucking know what you're talking about. So don't shake your head until you're done listening. You want it.
I'm not doing that. Yeah. No, thank you. Plants are not sentient, and if they were, we'd still be vegan because vegans kill less plants. Plants don't have brains, nervous systems, neurons, nociceptors. They have no resemblance to sentience or consciousness. They can't be sentient. They don't have neural networks to process it. There's actually a study called Debunking the Myth of Plant Consciousness in 2018, which demonstrates everything I'm telling you. Oh, hey, Stephanie. I didn't see you there. Long time no see. Hey, how are you?
Hey, how's it going? So, are you gonna come up with a way to synthetically feed all the wolves and the bears and the lions?
Okay, so I'm gonna ask you a question. What justifies slaughtering animals?
What justifies a lion slaughtering a deer?
They have no other choice. So
And
what
what choice do you
justifies
have to
you,
survive?
Alex? What justifies you is doing it to the animals when you have a choice?
So, by your logic, I should pump my body with chemicals instead of the meat given to us,
Meat is made of
provided to
chemicals,
us.
sir. Do you understand that meat is made of chemicals? You don't have to eat. If you're talking about synthetic chemicals, you can be a whole food plant-based person and be perfectly fine as a vegan. You don't have to eat chemicals.
So, why do you make synthetic meat?
I don't make synthetic meat and I don't have to eat it as a vegan. You're not showing me what justifies slaughtering animals. We're talking about ethics, not health.
Where do you get this moral, ethical reasoning from if
My
it's
brain.
not
My
God?
brain. My brain.
So why don't monkeys have the exact same thing
Because they have
when they do
different brains.
cannibal
They have different
acts?
brains. Now, Alex, can you
But
demonstrate?
they eat other monkeys too. Chimpanzees are cannibals.
Okay, they have morality, but it's different because they have different brains. Now, Alex, what justifies slaughtering and abusing animals?
If you think surviving is slaughtering and abusing animals, then you have it wrong.
Can you just justify slaughtering animals, which is what you do?
The exact same way as you can't ask a lion to say sorry. You
Do,
can't ask a human to
Alex,
say
do
sorry for
lions
surviving.
have stores? Do they have Targets and ShopRites and Kmart's?
Yup,
They do?
yup.
No, they don't. Lions don't have access to stores. But guess who does? We do. So we have the options. And with
And we
options
have the
comes
options to eat
responsibility.
meat or vegetables, correct?
It's not vegetables. I eat tons of different foods, not
Yeah,
just
so of
vegetables.
course you can
So,
eat nuts, you can
Alex,
eat seeds,
I'm
you
gonna
can
give you
eat
one
whatever
more
you want.
chance. I'm gonna give you
But
one
why
more
can't you eat
chance.
meat?
What justifies slaughtering cows and pigs and chickens?
There is justification because you need to survive. That's why.
Okay. Now, Alex, do you understand that you could survive as a vegan?
You can survive as a vegan just the same
Yeah,
way
you
you can
can
survive
survive.
without
You can
oxygen.
survive eating plants.
And are you going to force that upon all of humanity?
Nobody's forcing it to you, sir. We're just saying you don't have a reason to do otherwise. You don't have a justification for not being vegan.
But we do.
What is it?
If your ancestors, if you believe in evolution, if what you evolved from didn't eat meat, do you think you would be here?
No, but are we cavemen anymore? Are we Tarzan now? No, we have stores. We don't have to evolve by eating meat. Now we can
Or you
evolve by
want to
eating plants.
de-evolve?
We can evolve without having to eat meat now. It's 2025 now, Alex. Welcome. We have
It doesn't
stores.
matter.
Okay. So what justifies slaughtering animals if we don't have to anymore?
Doesn't matter if you have to.
Okay. Have a good day, Alex.
Yeah, God bless.
Hey, what do you got for us today? Why do we have canine teeth? Well, we have canine teeth because not for eating meat. We can't chew meat. We have them because our ancestors used it to scare out predators. They used it to do other things. Eating fruits, eating vegetables requires some kind of sharp teeth, canines. So those helped us in that ways. But we never ate meat like that, right? We're not like that. That's why we need forks and knives to eat our meat today. But even if we have canines that were designed for meat, we don't have to eat them anymore. We no longer have to consume meat at all. Okay. Yeah, look at gorillas. They have larger canines than we, but yet they're still they're still herbivorous, right? Look at our ape cousins. They eat mostly plants. Chimps, bonobos eat mostly fruits and veggies, bark. We no longer have to consume meat. And that's what happens if you do consume too much meat. You get constipation. Hello. Limit? What about B12? Oh, you can find those in things like mushrooms. You can find them in things like quinoas. You can find them in things like seaweed. You can find them in things like fortified foods. You can always supplement if you want. Hello?
Hello, hi.
Hi, how old are you?
I'm good. I just want to say, as long as you can't eat a live animal with blood running on your teeth, like bite, without using weapons, you are not meant to eat meat.
Okay, thank you.
And wait. And trans women never will be women.
Oh, okay. Do you have an argument for that?
Yeah, they are biological men. That's it.
Okay. So when you refer to a man as biological, you mean what?
Biological, when you make ultrasound to a child in the belly, boy or girl.
In what way is somebody a biological man? What makes them a man biologically? What
The
about their
eggplant.
biology? The what?
Eggplant.
The genitals.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're referring to sex based on genitals. We're not talking about gender. Gender is something different. Gender
Yeah,
has
I don't
nothing to do with
believe this. I
genitals.
don't believe this. I believe
Gender.
it's the same.
I know you don't believe it, Sarah, but the
Yeah.
problem is that this is the current understanding. We've
No,
updated.
this is new things.
Sarah, hold on and just listen. Gender is different from sex in the typical sense of genitalia or chromosomes. Gender has to do with your brain type, your neurochemistry. We're finding now that the way your brain is configured gives rise to your gender. So what makes me a man is not based on my genitals. It makes it I'm a man because of my brain type. You see, we've since updated our understanding because of the science, and there's lots of scientific research that demonstrates this. Right? So people that are trans are born that way.
Yeah, but if it's in the
They're
mind,
born
there's
that
no
way
need
because the way
operation
their
to
brain
change.
is.
Right? If it's in the mind, why operation to change, right? It's in the mind.
Because the reason why the operations occur is because people feel a deep sense of anxiety and incongruence because their brain is telling them that they're a man, but they have female genitalia. And if I was like that, if I
Yeah,
was
it's
born in
mental
this,
issues then.
hold on. It's not a mental issue. It's not in the sense of like something bad or terrible. It's just if you took my brain and put my brain into a female's body, I would feel incongruence. I would feel anxiety. I would not want to be in that body.
Yeah, it's just still mental
And
issues.
the
Need to
same
be
thing
solved.
applies to trans people. And the reason why they have that brain is not because there's an illness, but because testosterone, hormones can affect the brain during fetal development. And what happens is testosterone can affect the hypothalamus and can affect certain parts of the brain that give rise to a female sex type brain or a male type brain in a female body. You see? So that's the
Yeah, but they don't satisfy with being celibate or living on mountain alone. They want lust. It's lust.
It's not
They want
lust,
all
man.
lust on
Just
them.
like it's
Yeah,
not lust
it's
in the
lustful
case of you
spirit
for being a
indeed.
woman, right? Do you
Do
consider
you see one of them celibate or isolated in mountain? Never. They want attention. They want lust. They want all lust over them. That's it.
All right.
I didn't see one
Sorry,
of them
I'm
celibate.
sorry. I just can't. I can't deal with that.
Yo, hello. You hear me?
Hey, how are you? How old are you?
I'm good. I'm 18. I just have a few questions. I hope you could answer too. What proves that plants can't feel pain?
The fact that they don't have brains, nervous systems, pain receptors. If you don't have a pain
And is
receptor, how could you feel pain?
so is that the only reason why we're not why we are supposed to only be eating them?
No, we're not. I'm not a vegan because plants can't feel pain. I'm a vegan because I don't want to harm or take away the rights to animals who can or who are conscious.
Yes, but I also the entirety of the human race has already it got used to using animals for everything, like not even like not just food, like even like leather stuff, belts and stuff like that we make it from animals. How would we replace all of those?
We just change the way we manufacture those things by
But
buying things that are
with
vegan.
what do we manufacture them?
For what?
With what do we manufacture them?
Goods and products. Just like we
Right,
make
okay.
vegan products today. There is vegan leather today because it's just made of other stuff. Then
Yeah, but like how easily accessible is it?
very. You can go to the store and buy all kinds of vegan products.
So like according to you, and I'm gonna trust you on this one, the human race could, if they wanted, completely switch to just being a whole vegan planet if they
Yes,
want to. They
yes,
just
we
don't
could
want to.
become vegan. Yes.
So and it wouldn't affect our budget anything. It would like in a matter of like 20 years we would just be like we'd be like used to it.
Yes, we'd be used to it in 20 years. Now, do you have an argument against veganism?
No, I don't really have an argument against veganism. I just wanted to ask a question. And about trans women, I have a question. What my theory is, can they change their chromosomes? No, they really can't. So if you're born with male chromosomes, you're a man.
Okay. Do you understand that some people are born with XY chromosomes, but they have female genitalia? Do you know that? They're the
Yes, I do.
CIS woman.
Yeah, I do know that.
You knew that, right? So are
Yeah.
they a woman or are they a man?
Well, if they have male chromosomes, they're a man.
So somebody who looks just like, Selena Gomez with female genitalia, that person would be a man to you?
Yes, because they have listen,
Okay.
trans women, like they as a whole.
Well, that seems inconsistent. But second of all, that's not what gender and sex means. You're asserting a certain definition that has since been updated. Gender has nothing to do with your chromosomes. That has to do with your brain, not your chromosomes, not your genitalia, right?
Wait, so wait, hold on. So you're saying if I just wake up one day and I feel I feel like I don't belong in my body, that automatically makes me a woman?
You don't wake up one day. This isn't like you just wake up and go, "I'm a woman today." No, it's the way the brain's wired and the way the brain.
Yeah, like you get. Yeah, I know you're born with it. I know, but like
exactly, you're born with.
Yes, but a newborn, I don't think a newborn can just say, "Oh yeah, you know what? I feel like a woman or a man today."
Exactly. That's why when kids are born and they're born trans, they grow up into society that tells them there's something that they're not. And that's why they're trans, because they just don't feel like they align with what you tell them they are.
Yeah, they are trans. I agree that they're trans, but how does that make them
so what's the question here What's the
So
problem?
wait, so you're saying they're trans. I get that, but how does that make them like a man, just like I am? Like how does their just because they feel like they shouldn't be what they are, how does it make
Not a
them
feeling.
be
It's
what
not
I
a
am?
feeling. It's not a feeling. It's not just like, oh, I have a feeling today that I'm a woman. No, it's far more complicated than that. And you're forgetting the psychological nuance, the neurochemical nuance. The way the brain is structured gives rise to gender. Okay, so just like I feel like I'm a man because of my brain type, so do trans men feel that way.
Yeah,
It has nothing to do with, feeling.
right. You know what? Okay. Just one more thing. Like if let's say about the veganism thing, right? Humans from an early age we were carnivores. So like, why do you think if like God, I don't know if you believe in God or no, but like, why do you think that God intended? Like, do you think God really intended for us to be vegans? If back then we started out as carnivores, right?
Well, I think if God exists, why would it create a world in which there's so much animal suffering that could be stopped, right? And if God exists and he wants us to be rational and smart and cares about us, then we should reflect that and we should care about other animals who don't have to be harmed. So whether or not
Yes,
there's a
but
God is
where?
irrelevant to me.
Yeah, but like, where in the Bible or any other book says that killing animals is a sin? Like, I understand it is a sin to like just randomly go up to an animal and kill it for no reason, but for like food, for actual like usage, for it not to go to waste, where does it say that that is a sin
Where in the Bible does it
or it
say
shouldn't be
that?
done?
Where is it say in the Bible that marital rape is wrong? It doesn't. But we have brains and we can think. And if there's a God, he gave us brains to think about these things. And I think it makes way more sense to not harm others, to not slaughter others, even if God exists.
Right. You know what? Okay. You know what? Yeah, sure. Okay. Have a good one.
Thank you.
Thank
What's up?
Hey, how are you?
I'm alright. How are you, bro?
Good.
I have a question, like based on based on the. I mean, I understand the vegan stuff. I don't really mind about vegans. It's the trans woman part. When you say trans women are women, do you mean like societal, like gender, like they are genderly a woman, or sexually, like they've changed their genome to be a woman? Like, what do you mean
No,
on that?
it has to do with their gender. Woman is
Gender?
gender identity. Yeah.
Okay. How do you feel about transracial people?
Yeah, that's not gender. Right? That's something completely different. I don't even know what that even means.
Transracial is someone who identifies as a different race, much like how
Yeah,
someone could
I think
identify as a different
if
gender.
you're indexing race to something like skin color or phenotype, external phenotypes, then it's not analogous to transgender. Not
But
analogous at all. It's not neurobiological.
neurobiological, how do you figure that? You mean the hormones?
Well, yeah, hormones can affect the brain and the brain structure, but the point is that gender is en route neurobiological. It has to do with the way the brain is configured, the hypothalamus, the white matter, the gray matter in your brain. That gives rise to your gender, and
Wouldn't
that's why you're
you
born that way.
wouldn't you say gender stands on the shoulders of DNA?
Well, everything does. Everything about us
Well, I mean
has to do
like
with our biology.
sexual identification. I mean male and female.
That has to do with your gametes, your chromosomes, not your gender, not your brain. That's why there's a distinction. That's why it's important to make that distinction between sex and gender.
So what you're saying is it's just from birth, right? Trans people from birth,
Yeah,
and one day through exposure of life, eventually they realize it's who they are.
correct.
I just don't know how that happens.
Well, it's like if you are born with a female body, right? Imagine if you had your same brain as today, but you were born with a female body. You would feel anxious. You'd be like, I don't feel like I am this. I feel like I feel like I'm a man. And you wouldn't want to wear dresses. You wouldn't want to wear makeup, right? You would align with what a man does. And that's why that's all the trans person means.
Would you consider, because trans people, would you say that when people transition, they genuinely think they are that new gender, right?
They always no, they don't. They always think that their gender that they align with, right? It's not like they change their thought process, right? They always understand their own gender, right? It's just that society tells them there's something that they don't feel they are.
Genetically, so let's say male to female, well, male to woman, transgender wise, but obviously they would be sexually male, right? And they genuinely think they are female. Would you call that delusion? If they genuinely believe they are something else
It's
other
not
than
possible to think you're female. You mean think that they're a woman?
like they have genuinely 100% transitioned into a woman?
Yeah, you can't think you're a female because female has to do with your chromosomes or your gametes. That has nothing to do with your the thought process. It's not neurobiological. So, but again, yes, they would always think that they're a woman if they're a trans woman.
But wouldn't that consider it to be delusion?
Where's the delusion if that's their brain type, right? And there's studies showing that brain sex is shifted toward gender identity. And there's countless research on this showing that transgender people are born that way, and that's how they think.
I'm just hung up on the fact that it's like, how do I put this? If it's gender affirming and they do it, to feel better about themselves. Well, by the way, I don't have any prejudice or anything. I'm just genuinely curious on this. If it's gender affirming, like it makes them feel better, more comfortable in their body, whatever, then why do they get surgeries if it really doesn't boil down to the fact, if it really boils down to just gender and not sex? Because one of the main identifiers for your sex is obviously the the parts they get surgically changed.
Get changes because they internally they feel a deep sense that they're not the sex that they are. They don't feel like they fit in their own bodies. Just like if I was born as a female, I would be being anxious. I would be severely anxious because I wouldn't fit in with society. Think of how much societal pressure there is on somebody who's transgender, constantly being told that they're a woman when they're not, constantly being told that they think a certain way when they don't. That's the problem. It's not that they're the problem, it's that society is the problem in telling them that there's something they're not. And that's why they feel the anxiety enough to get that surgery. And again, I mean, this is a very small portion of people that are trans actually get those really transformative surgeries. Most people don't. Most trans people don't get those surgeries. But again, if you feel extreme gender dysphoria, well, of course you're going to get those surgeries. And I don't. There's no delusion. It's not something crazy. It's just anxiety. Just like you feel, sometimes I feel anxiety about certain things in my life.
You said it's that they don't feel like they're the same sex. But I don't know how you could feel that when it's a genuine fact of what sex you are at birth. Not gender, but sex, I mean.
You keep equivocating gender and sex. They're different things. Gender has solely to do with the brain. Sex has to do with either the genetics or the chromosomes or the gametes or the genitalia.
So do you not think it's possible that some transgender people genuinely think they've 100% converted to their other gender of choice or sex of choice?
You can't look. You're not really understanding the situation. You You can't change genders. That's not what trans people mean. That's not what a transgender person does. They don't change their genders. They're just not aligning with the one that you tell them they are. So they always think, a trans woman always thinks that they're a woman. They can't change that about themselves. But they try to change sometimes the physical aspects because they want to fit in with society.
Okay, that's what I was. That's what I
And
was.
they want to feel comfortable in their own bodies as well.
That's what I was wondering. So they do know, but they okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's all I was asking.
Hi. I I didn't really have a question. If it's all right, I didn't have a question pertaining to the topic of this debate, but I had more of an educational question because I've seen some of your videos, um, and I've seen some of your videos about like physics, and then also about there was like one on AI, and I I'm taking biology right now, and I wanted to like I've been thinking about this thing, and I've been talking to my biology teachers about it. And I want to ask you if that's all right. I know it's not like pertaining to the topic of the debate, but is that all right?
I'm not a biologist, but make it quick. I mean, let's hear it. I'll try.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. I just so we're learning about evolution and um it and also DNA and all these different parts that constitute a cell and that ultimately constitute life. And it seems to me and that like and I know this sounds kind of crazy, but it seems to me that a cell isn't actually living in that and I know that seems kind of crazy. I know that seems kind of crazy. And I know that's like probably wrong, but the definitions of what a what like makes something living, I think according to science, is like it has the ability to move, it
Yeah.
has the ability to
No.
reproduce. No,
Metabolism and replication.
yeah, okay, yeah.
Not
Well,
moving.
isn't
Okay.
okay. That's and then also those things like yeah, the ability to metabolize all those things. Um, but it seems to me that what distinguishes the ability to, or what distinguishes something living from non-living is autonomy. And what I mean is like more specifically the ability to react in a like I don't know how to explain it, but like the ability to react in a way to external stimuli that's not like a result of that's not like one particular way. Like let me try to kind of explain my point a little bit better. Like if a cell, for example, receives a growth factor, that triggers that like triggers a reaction within the cell. All these this chain reaction that ultimately causes like the that creates all of these proteins, and that causes like the cell cycle to progress and the cell to undergo mitosis and all of these things. But it seems to me that that is not that does not show the cell's autonomy because it's simply responding to this external stimuli in the one way that it can as a result of
Yeah, yeah.
all of these.
Living things don't necessarily have to be conscious. They can just be reacting or responding.
Well, yeah, I mean I guess yeah, that's a good point.
Look.
I guess I don't know what
Send me an email or something. I really want to move on to the next people. Send me an email about it. Hey, how are you?
I'm well. How are you?
Good.
Good.
Yeah. What's your counterpoint or question or argument?
I Yeah, I had so many things to say, but I don't anymore. It's depressing to see someone disenfranchising real women like yourself.
What's a real woman?
Bro, come on now.
Tell me, what is a real woman?
What is a real woman? A real woman is someone who is born to procreate, someone who has the ability to
Wow,
babies.
born to procreate. That's the reason why they exist, is to procreate.
No,
That's
that's not the reason.
pathetic. Well, that's pathetic to me.
But you're
That's
also a
pathetic.
vegan.
That's disenfranchising women by telling them that that's what they're here for.
That's not why they're here for.
That's
But
absurd.
that's what the biological purpose of a female is. But you're
There
a
is no
vegan?
biological
Dude,
purpose for
you're
a
a
female.
vegan.
It's just the way they are.
You're a vegan.
They're just that, females. They're not purposed to be a freaking incubator.
Okay, so let me ask you this. You're a vegan, right?
Yeah.
How many animals die to protect your crops?
Well, some studies show that only about 1 or 2 per acre die in the process
One or
of crop
two?
agriculture. And by the way, those are not considered rights violations by me because we don't control those crop deaths. But guess who does control crop deaths
Oh,
by consuming animal products? You
Oh my
do.
goodness,
You
tell me.
can reduce your amount of crop deaths by simply stopping eating meat. Stop eating meat and dairy. You
Oh,
can
so
greatly reduce
all
your crop deaths. Okay.
all the voles and all that die for your soybeans, that's because of me?
Did you know that 90% of soybeans are grown for animals?
Holy fuck, dude. So
Yeah,
you're taking
you
you're
didn't know
taking
that. You
food
didn't
from
know that,
animals.
did you? You didn't know
You're
that
taking
most of
you're
the
taking
Amazon
food from animals to be a vegan.
You didn't know that most soy is being grown to feed animals. Most corn, most all these crops are being grown. And that's why you are causing more damage than you think you are. Far more. But I'd love to hear a proper counter argument for these things.
Are you gonna mute me again or what?
If you don't give an argument, yes.
Oh, such a vegan. Oh, we're just blinking at each other. This is a good moment.
Look, I understand that people hate me and don't like the fact that I'm standing up for animals and other people, but
I stand
that
up for animals.
not
I
doing
love
the
animals.
thing you think you're doing by doing what you're doing. Hello.
Hello, how you going? How you doing?
Great. What do you have for us today?
So I just wanted to say, if it's a trans woman, then it's a trans woman, not a woman, right?
How old are you?
34,
What
California,
year were you born? What year were you born?
91.
All right. So a woman is a type is a person who aligns with female sex typical traits. And trans women do that. They fit in that category. So therefore trans women are women.
So if I act like a monkey or a dog, is that what I am?
No, because gender is not species. It has nothing to do with your anatomy in terms of your exterior. It has to do with your brain, your neurobiology. It's a
So
nice try.
that doesn't make it. So you're saying that women are trans women are women. Then why do you have to call them trans women?
Because of
Because it aligns with
society,
what they think.
because people like you tell them that they're something that they're not, and now we have to design a word for them. That's the problem, right? The problem is not them, it's you. That's why we have to call people transgender, because you give them labels that they don't align with.
They're giving their self labels. They're telling
Well,
us to call
yeah,
them.
ultimately we all give ourselves labels, but the problem is that you are telling them that there's something they don't align with, and there's nothing wrong with labeling yourself as something. And the problem is that society doesn't understand them. That's the problem. Now, do you have a proper argument as to why that's false?
I mean, I know. I mean, yeah, I
No?
said it's false because you have to put trans women,
You're coming out.
and it's not because society. It's because no, it's not because society. It's because it's factual. It's a fact. They're not a woman.
What's a woman?
A woman is a female
What's a
who has
female?
female body parts.
What's a female?
A girl, a woman who has a vagina,
So people who are not born with
who can
vaginas,
give birth.
so for example, somebody who is
Not woman.
who has XY chromosomes but has female genitalia, they are considered what? A woman or a man? They look just like Selena Gomez, but they don't have I'm sorry, they look just like a female, but they don't
If
have
they were
female.
born a man, they're a man. Yeah. If they had to undergo surgery to look that way, then yeah, obviously they're a man. They weren't born that way.
All right, look. Let me start this way.
Right?
30 years ago, we used to use the word gender to refer to sex, like you're saying. But we have learned since then. We've learned since then that gender has to do with your psychology, has to do with your brain, has to do with your neurobiology. And now we're finding more about gender and that there's a spectrum of genders. That it's not black and white. That not everybody aligns with the gender that you give them. And that's why we're learning about this. Now, you're not counting for that distinction. You're just thinking sex has to do with your genitalia. That no longer captures the nuances behind psychology. Gender dysphoria, why does that happen? You can't account for that under your definition, right? But if we understand gender to be something that is neurobiological and a woman to be something that is a gender identity that aligns with somebody who aligns with female sex typical traits, well, then that's a far better definition of what a woman is, because it captures all those other nuances that you don't.
Okay, and why is there so much gender dysphoria now than there was before?
There isn't any more than there was before. It's just that we're noticing it now. We're understanding it better now.
So you're just saying that there's so much more homosexual people in this world just by
No. There isn't more. It's just
like
that
that just happened?
we're noticing, we're understanding them more, and they're able to feel like they can say something now. Whereas before, trans people always existed. They always existed. You're born that way. People that are trans
No,
are born that way.
I know they always existed. Yes.
Okay,
I agree
great. So
100%.
it's
I
something
agree
that's
with you.
happening more. It's just that people are understanding it more, and we're noticing that more people are trans.
No, I think it has a lot to do with indoctrination. A lot to do with indoctrination, and that's where it became an issue. No one
Demonstrates
ever.
indoctrination. You can't indoctrinate somebody into being a man or a woman. That's not possible.
Yeah, you can. Whenever they're very young, if you sit there and try to convince them and tell them, they will alter their mind to make them think a certain way. Yes,
Where's
they
your
will.
scientific data that demonstrates that you can convince somebody to be another gender that they're not?
Real-time
Where's
reality.
scientific evidence of that?
I mean, I don't have the evidence, but you can see it in
Exactly.
real
But
time.
guess what? I do actually have evidence that gender actually is something that you're born with and that you can't change. Study called Sex versus Gender Associations with Brain Structure. That's one study for you. Another one, neurobiological characteristics associated with gender identity. Go check out the science, which overwhelmingly shows you're fucking wrong. That people that are trans cannot be or have not been indoctrinated. They've always existed, and that's the way they are. Get over
No,
it.
I agree 100%,
Okay, then
but
give a
not
good reason why
as
this is
much
false. Simply
as it
saying
is
that they're
now.
indoctrinated is not a good reason. That's not a good argument. You haven't presented a good argument today.
It's crazy. I mean, you can see it in real time.
You-
I
You're
believe people are
just
born gay. Yes, people are
Howdy,
born
you're
gay.
just saying
I agree
things.
with you
I want a good
100%.
reason. I want good reasons with substance, not just your thoughts or feelings.
It's not just my thoughts and feelings. Like you can see
Then
this. They were
provide
trying to push this
substance.
whole agenda in the school. They were trying to push. Weren't they trying to push this agenda in school? Yes, they were.
What are they trying to push in schools?
They were trying to the whole gay this and all this. The whole trying to teach gender ideology, all this kind of stuff.
Wait. Why is teaching about gender bad?
I mean, it's not good.
Why is it
Why
bad?
is it good? Why is it good? Why
Because
should it be
it
taught?
helps us understand each other.
Yeah, it helps us
Okay,
understand
so
each
why
other.
is it
But
bad to teach gender in school?
you shouldn't teach it to kids
Why not? Why can't kids learn about gender when they have genders?
because their minds are barely developing. Let kids find out things on their own.
Kids can
Let them grow
understand
up.
gender, sir. Kids understand gender. There's nothing
Yeah,
wrong with teaching children
they know
about
boy and
gender.
girl. That's all they should know.
That's your opinion, but you're not showing why this is false. You're not showing why trans people exist, right? There's different genders than just man or woman. There's non-binary, there's transgender, there's all different kinds of genders.
No,
Index
there's just men and women. That's
demonstrate
why.
that. Give
That's
reasons to think that that's true and that this is incorrect.
because how is there more than men and women, but there's only
Because
men and
we're finding out that brain sex is
why wasn't there any
complicated.
people made different? How come people weren't made differently? Why is it only men and women? And all of a sudden, how you
Victor, can you listen?
guys
Okay.
think everybody else should think?
Yeah. Let me explain to you something. There are different types of brains. My brain gives rise to my gender. Your brain gives you rise to your gender. I'm a man. Pretty sure you consider yourself a man. We were born this way because of our brain types. In the case of a trans person, their brain also designates them as the gender they are. There's nothing different about trans or me or you. We just have different brain types. So that's why, depending on your brain sex, you can have a different gender. And there's more than just man or woman because there's a spectrum of different brain types, and hence a spectrum of genders and gender identities. Some people don't align with what a man is or what a woman is. Some people are non-binary. Some people are bigender. Some people align with both in some ways. It's very fuzzy because the brain is complicated. It's not binary. See, we've learned since the 90s, Victor. We have brain scan technology. We can look at the brain and find these things. And I've given you multiple studies already. So come up with a proper argument instead of, I don't like this, or go away.
What you're saying about me, I don't like this. I don't like this. That's exactly what you're doing, and your whole community, right?
Look, come up with a good
You
argument.
don't like the way most people think. So you're saying you guys should think like us. That's exactly what you guys are
We're
doing,
not saying you have to
and you're
think like
saying I'm
us. What
doing
we're
it.
saying is that this is the better way of thinking because it encapsulates more of the truth. The truth that people that are trans are born that way and that there's nothing wrong with them and that we should incorporate them in our society and not neglect them and not treat them like shit. That is important. So instead of dismissing what I'm telling you, why not actually address
So
it
I
and
agree.
argue
Everybody should
with
be
it?
treated right. I agree 100%. I mean, everyone should be
Victor, you're
treated
not
equal.
addressing anything I'm
I've
telling you.
never
You're
had it
not
ever.
actually countering anything I'm telling you. You're just saying no, no, no.
I know exactly what you're
Okay,
saying,
then
and
recite to
it's
me. Then recite
I
to me
shouldn't
back
think
what I'm
that
saying.
the rest of the
Tell me
world
the sex gender
should
distinction.
think
What is it?
that everybody's minds are not born the same. Yes, there's male. Yes, there's
No, I'm
female.
sorry, Victor. I'm
But
sorry, but
our
you
minds
have
are.
not listened to a damn thing I told you, and that's important for these discussions. If you want to debate me on this, you have to listen. You didn't listen to a damn thing I told you.
Hey, Mike.
Hey,
Yep.
yeah. What's your argument?
Well, I think your ideology is an absolute joke. You're trying to warp reality. It's not based on science, and with every objective reality, trans women, there's a reason for definitions. Woman has a definition, trans woman has a definition. If they didn't have different definitions, then they wouldn't have placement for that. There's a specific definition for trans women, and there's a definition for women. I mean, this is absolutely crazy that you claim to be this
Yeah,
science, yet
David. So what's your problem with trans women? What is your problem with the fact that they?
I don't have a problem with trans women.
No. I'm asking you, what's the problem with the definition of what a woman is based on gender
Because
identity?
there's two different distinctions in definitions between a trans woman and a woman. That's what I'm alluding.
What is that distinction, David?
Okay, so can we at least get to the base that definition and terminologies?
David, what's the distinction between trans woman and woman?
Do those matter? Okay, I'll get to that, but would you agree or disagree that definitions and how we categorize things matter? Does that matter?
Definitions are not objective. But I'm asking you what you think a woman means.
Definitions are used to categorize and to give distinction to something. Would you disagree or agree with it?
Distinctions cannot always be made in the case of every single thing, every single word.
Okay, we're trying to defy logic.
I'm asking you, what's the difference between trans woman and woman, such that they can't be women?
Okay, so, but I'm trying to get to the base point here because I'm trying to give in the objectivity of, I'm going to give you a definition. There's two distinct definitions, but if you don't agree with definitions and that we categorize and give distinction and definitions for categories, then what's the point? I can give you an objective definition and you still
there
would
is
disagree.
No objective definitions don't exist, David.
Okay,
they don't exist.
A woman is an adult female human being. Would you disagree or agree with that?
I would disagree because that definition doesn't encapsulate all the nuances. Hold on, David, hold on and listen. You have to listen to me. The reason why that definition is outdated is because it doesn't encapsulate all the nuances behind psychology and neurology of the brain and of gender. See, gender is not your sex. It's not if you're female. Gender has to do with your brain, and that's what we're learning more and more. And that's why we have to use these new terms and definitions.
Okay, so I'll get to gender, but we're talking about trans women and women, the definition of those two. We'll get to gender. We'll get to that. And again, you're looking like a joke right now because first of all, at the end of the day, definitions matter. A trans woman is a person who is registered as a male at birth, but who lives and identifies as a woman. That is a trans woman. A woman is an adult female human being.
Okay.
There's a distinction.
David, I understand your definition. I understand that's your definition, but the problem with that definition?
That's not my definition. That's the definition.
There is no such thing as the definition. It doesn't exist. David. There is no objective definition of anything. They're just words, right? When we say woman, it's just a word. It means nothing, except for the things we give the word utility to. Now, the problem with saying that woman is an adult human female is that it doesn't encapsulate and capture all the psychological nuance behind gender. So the science does back me up because, for example, here's a study called Sex versus Gender Associations with Brain Structure. We're finding that gender has to do with the brain structures, the hypothalamus, the white matter, the gray matter. And those things designate if you're a woman or not. Because what a woman is not based on your genitals or your chromosomes. It's based on how you think, how your brain's wired. So people that are transgender are born that way. Okay, when we say somebody who is a trans woman is a woman, what we mean is that they fit in within the category of a gender identity which aligns with female sex typical traits. And that's why trans women are women. Now, what's your counter to this argument?
So you're talking about in regards to the social construct, which is pretty much made up. Now I'm talking about biology. I'm talking about XY, XX chromosomes.
Again, David, you didn't listen to a damn thing I told you. What did I tell you?
Hold on. I let you speak.
No,
You
David.
muted
What
me.
did
Now
I
let
tell
me
you?
speak.
No, David, this is
Now let
very
me
important. This is important. You have to understand and listen to me. You can't shut off your brain when I'm talking to you, or else we can't debate. What did I tell you about gender versus sex? What's the difference? And why do I think there's a difference? Go.
Okay, so there can be no association of gender without sex. For example, when you're talking about a male and a female, when you're talking about masculine and feminine, yes, those are subjective nuances. However, without the establishment and the concept of a male or female, a gender, the association with gender wouldn't exist. So you associate feminine aspects to female, right?
We're not saying it's feminine. You didn't listen to a damn thing I said, David. David. What did I tell you about gender versus sex? What's the difference? If you can't even listen to what I'm telling you, you can't debate me.
Objective definition of the
There is
binary
no such thing as
human
an
race.
objective, David. There's no such thing as an objective definition. It doesn't exist. There's no. What is a truck, David? What's a truck? Can you tell me what a truck is versus a car, and that they're objectively distinct?
Yes, utilitarian, they're different. A car is smaller, a truck is bigger.
Oh, but there are some cars that are bigger than trucks. Oh, but David, there are some cars that are bigger than trucks. Now what?
So when you're talking about gender, you're talking about the social construct of masculinity and femininity.
David, I just told you something. There are some cars that are bigger than trucks.
Are you gonna let me speak? I'll shut up when you speak. I'll shut up when you speak. But when I speak, can I have the floor? I know this is your panel.
Just what I'm telling you. Just what I'm telling you.
So can I give you the so sex is usually categorized as female or male, but is a variation in the biological attributes to compare the sex and how those attributes are expressed. Gender refers to the social construct, roles, behaviors, expressions, identities of girls, women, boys, men, gender, and diverse. That is subjective. So sex is objective. Gender is subjective. But without sex...
No, they're just nouns. Gender is just a noun. They're not objective or subjective. Again, you didn't listen to a damn thing I told you. Gender is rooted in your biology.
You're just trying to
it's rooted in your neurobiology. You don't listen, David. You're not listening to a damn thing I'm telling you.
I'm listening to you. You're saying...
Then what is gender? In my view, what is gender then?
Willy-nilly, everything's subjective. But what I'm saying is that sex is objective.
Look, guys, I understand that you've been taught that it's only male or female, and that's it. That's all the only genders there are. But the problem is we have learned in the past few decades, gender is not the same thing as sex. And in gender theory, there is now a distinction that is more commonly prevalent in these kinds of discussions. And you're denying science if you think I'm wrong. Because the science, as I've stated multiple times in the studies, we can now find patterns, correlations between brain sex and gender identity. We now know that trans people are born that way, and their brain sex is in alignment with their gender identity. And the same thing with my brain. My brain is in alignment with my gender identity. So, again, gender is more nuanced than just male or female. It's different. Maybe this worked 50 years ago when we didn't know about brain scans. But now we do know about them, and now we have to be understanding of the new information. And if you can't listen to me, you can't debate me.
Hey, you can hear me?
Yeah. How are you?
I'm good, man. I just got a few things to say, man. First of all, how old are you?
30.
30? Okay, okay. So I'm a bit younger. Yeah, man. I mean, at the end of the day, everybody's got their opinions, you know.
Yeah. So
Everybody
do
respects
you
each
have
other's
a
opinion.
counter argument for these two things, or should I kick off next person?
Well, first we can be respectful with one another and we can debate off of that. I just want to say something before we get started, man. Praise God. Fuck what you talking about. Everybody know you capping.
Hey, how are you?
Hi. Can I talk about trans women first before I give an argument that a vegan diet can actually cause more suffering for animals? So, yeah, when you talk about trans women being used to redefine womanhood, right? I am a biological essentialist. So basically, yeah, I categorize females to be typically XX chromosomes. So the problem here is, yeah, I respect autonomy. I respect people's autonomy to be identified as a man or a woman. But if we redefine womanhood, right, to include trans women, it could blur the lines between biological sex and gender identity, right? This might undermine the clarity of categorizing, like for example, male and female. So it would lead to some sort of a confusions in area like medical care, sports, and legal rights, right? So
Yeah,
my question
because
is
no,
why
because
do you want to essentially
there's a clear
define
distinction
womanhood?
between gender and sex, right? Now we're finding out that gender has to do with your brain, not your sex. There's a distinction now, right?
Yeah,
So there's nothing harmful about updating our definitions because it actually helps people, it actually saves people's lives when
no,
we don't
but yeah,
when we
I've really
incorporate them in our society and understand them and listen to them instead of just dismissing them as telling them they're something they're not. So no, I would not argue, even from a utilitarian perspective, that we shouldn't use these words or these terms. We should. And you haven't really addressed this question. You're not really
yeah.
addressing why trans women are not.
When you said trans women are women, you are trying to redefine womanhood, right? I've already
No,
stated the
I'm not.
problems.
I'm not redefining womanhood.
You are substituting the
What we're
word
saying is that
woman.
what we're saying is that trans women fit in the category of woman. That's all we're saying.
Okay, so do you think trans women should be allowed in women's sports?
We're
And
not
do they have
talking
legal
about
rights?
sports. We're not talking
Yeah.
about that. That's irrelevant. We're talking about if trans women are women. Do you think that's true or false, and why?
So should we use trans
All right.
for these kind of people?
Yeah. Yes, we should.
Hello?
Hey, how are you?
Yeah. Oh, sorry. I'm good. I just had one question, and then I'll be gone. Because I'm sure there's other people that are waiting. So, yeah, my question is, so how come when a baby's born, like, you know, how do they, can you explain to me how they determine, right away if it's a boy or female? Like, they know, how do they know?
So they
What's
just
up?
so when it typically when we say it's a baby boy or a baby girl, they mean sex, right? They mean genitalia. That's what they really mean.
Okay.
But when we get to gender, that's a way more complicated topic, and that requires far more discussion than, oh look, does it have a pee or not? That's a totally different thing.
How?
How?
So a girl can have a penis? A girl can be born with a penis?
Yes, a woman could have any kind of genitalia because a woman is just a gender identity that has nothing to do with sex.
Oh, we dead us.
Yeah, do you have an actual argument against that? Or just a, nah, you're wrong?
No, that's just gotta be the dumbest thing I ever heard in my life.
Okay, so, nah, you're wrong. That's all you got. Look, guys, I understand this doesn't, it doesn't sound what you're used to, what you're used to. I understand that. It's called learning, right? You go to school, you learn something. It doesn't look familiar, but once you learn it, you understand it, and that's the process here. Um, it just don't just hate anything you don't understand. That's the problem when you just start to hate things because you don't understand them.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, my issue is with the second one, where trans women are women. I do not agree with that because, firstly, I just want to ask you, what is your definition of a woman?
It's a gender identity in which somebody aligns with female sex typical traits.
Okay, what is a female sex typical traits? Like, give an example of that.
They could be psychological, they could be cultural, they could be behavioral, they could be social, they could be physical, makeup, dresses, it could be the way they think, idiosyncrasies.
Okay, you see the issue with what you just said. The same stereotype you used to describe a female is the same stereotype you're using to describe gender identity. You think a female has a way in which they act, which is not true. We have females who take more onto that masculine role where they do like things that men are or
Now
to
you're
do.
talking about gender now. You're not talking about sex. Now you're talking about gender.
Is that not what this conversation is about? It's about gender, though.
But
You,
you called it the female sex, right?
I
We're
didn't
talking
say
about
female. No.
gender. Okay.
Okay. I said, firstly, the word woman is called an adult female, which is an adjective.
No, it's
It
not.
is. As a linguistic, I'm telling you, as someone who actually studied English, it is an adjective used to describe an adult female. For example, let me give you an example. What is a baby lion called?
Cub.
What is a female lion called?
I don't know.
A
Cub.
lioness.
Okay. Yeah. So
No, listen, let me land. Let me
look,
land.
I understand, but if you understand linguistics, you realize that there are no objective definitions.
No,
They
but
don't
let
exist.
me land. Let me finish. The word lioness is the adjective used to describe a female lion. The word woman is the adjective used to describe a female.
I
And that is
understand that. I
a
understand that
trans woman can be a
that's the typical
woman.
definition. I
No, a
understand.
trans woman can be a woman if she's not a female. That's the issue with what I'm saying.
I understand that's the old definition.
It's not an old definition, it's in the dictionary.
Hold on. If you understand linguistics, you realize that definitions are not objective. They're not set in stone. They can be changed, they can be updated. And that's what we're doing today. What we're finding out is that gender is far more complicated than just saying it's female or male. It has to do with the brain, the psychology behind gender. It's not just about your pee-pee. It's about the way you think, how your brain is wired. And that's why we have to update our definitions. So using your definition as adult human female misses out on so much nuance. Like,
Yes,
how do you
because
explain
it
gender
is an
dysphoria?
adjective.
How do you account for the fact that we have science which demonstrates brain sex has shifted towards gender identity? How do you account for these things with that definition? It's outdated.
It's not. Because what you're not understanding in this argument is that the word woman is an adjective used to describe a female.
Look, did you hear anything I told you? Did you listen to
Okay.
anything I told you? No,
You
no.
just
Look,
told me.
we're not gonna do this. You're gonna repeat what I told you. And if you're not listening to me, you can't debate me. I understand your position. I understand your
You're saying that
position.
gender are more fluid now in terms of like using science and it's not set stone objective. That's what you're trying to tell me. But what I'm
Okay,
trying to
great. So
say,
so counter that. Counter that.
okay, what I'm trying to say is that, for example, you just used that same word during this conversation. You've told me that it's how a woman should act, including cultural. You
Not
told
how
me
they
that
should. It's how they typically
they
act.
typically, and you included
Okay.
cultural acting, which are basically stereotypical. And those you're using that to describe what you think a woman is.
No, it's not a woman. It's female sex typical traits, right? We
Okay.
align we traits that have alignment with people that have certain genitalia or chromosomes.
So
Now, what we're learning
essentially,
about gender is that it's different than that. We're learning that it has to do with the brain. There's a brain sex. There are brain phenotypes. So there's a spectrum of genders. There's thousands of different types of genders because there's thousands of different ways the brain can be structured. And that's why your definition does not account for that.
so how do
Your
you?
version of woman does not understand or encapsulate anything I'm telling you.
My
You
issue
can't
with
you
what?
can't
No, I
account for
get
any
what
of that.
you're saying, but my issues with what you're saying is that you are using, you're complicating sex and gender identity and using stereotype to define the gender identities to support your perspective.
You're not addressing this concern, though.
I
You're
am,
you're
because
just
they are
raising an
not
emotional
women.
point. I'm asking you to demonstrate that trans women are not women.
They are
Can
not
you do that?
women though, because there are lots of women, cis women, that I know that a trans person can never experience, and there are a lot of our trans people that a women can
It's not.
experience.
There's
That's
two
why we,
genders.
but that's
Look,
why we
look, Mary,
categorize
Mary,
them.
listen. Why are trans women not women? Right? Why are trans women not women? Can you demonstrate that? Can you give the argument?
Okay, I've told you that my argument is because the word woman is used to describe an adult female. Yes, okay, let
I
me give an
understand that's
analogy.
your definition,
Okay, let
Mari.
me
I
give an
understand.
analogy of
Hold
what you
on,
said.
hold on. I understand that's your definition, but then I countered with the updated definition in which it understands and accounts for the psychology behind gender.
And what
So,
study are you using to
Mari,
this
Mari,
update?
Mari, Mari, do you understand my understanding of gender now?
I do. I
Okay,
do.
so counter that definition. Why is that definition false?
And I'm telling you why it is false, but you refuse
Why?
to listen.
Why is it
Okay, let
wrong
me
to
give
use
an
that? Why is
example.
it? Why is that a wrong way to use it?
Let
Why
me
is yours better?
okay, let me give an example. Let's say you have a Coke bottle. You know that inside the filling is a Coke, but then you remove the wrap of the Coke bottle and slap a Pepsi cover on it.
You're not
No,
attacking.
I'm using the
You're not
analogy. Let me
countering what
land.
I'm telling you.
But let me land though. Let me land. I'm trying to use an analogy to explain your point. You have a Coke bottle. You remove the wrap of the Coke bottle and put a Pepsi on it. To you, you're perceiving. If I show you the bottle, what do you perceive the bottle as? You don't know it's Coke inside. What do you perceive the Pepsi as?
It doesn't matter. This is not analogous
No,
to
but it
gender.
does
You
matter
can't.
because you're
Gender has
using.
nothing to do with your genitalia.
I'm not saying anything about it. I didn't bring up
Okay, so
genitalia.
then why? How is this analogous?
But categorization biologically, there's only male and female. And I get if I was to talk about
No, it
X,
that's
Y,
has to
and
do with
XX
sex,
chromosome.
Murray. You're not understanding a single thing I'm telling you. I understand that's your definition, but I'm showing you that my definition properly accounts for all the nuance in psychology that has to do with gender and
Okay,
the
I
fact
get
that
that. What
science
about people
demonstrates.
who dis
Oh my
transition?
gosh! Listen to me. Science shows that your definition is outdated, right? Because we have studies showing that brain sex is shifted towards gender identity now. We have countless studies showing that there's psychological nuance behind gender and that adult human female doesn't account for that, right? So, how do you account for all that psychological nuance in the science with your definition, which is
My issue with what you're saying is that you've told me that the word that I'm using to describe gender is not objective. Same way science is not an objective. It is very subjective and science is
no,
subjective.
science is not objective or
It
subjective.
is
It's just
subjective.
a
If
noun.
anything can be argued
No,
against, it is
Mari, it's
subjective.
not objective or
So
subjective.
what
It's
is it
just a
then?
noun. It's just a noun, right? It's like
Science
saying
is just
cats
a
are
noun.
subjective. Stop. That's like saying cats are subjective. It's not subjective or objective. It's just a noun. So that doesn't make any sense to call science subjective.
Okay.
Definitions are subjective because they contain things and motivations that and opinions that are not objectively the case. They're just words. Words don't have objective meaning, they have usages. The problem with your usage of the word woman is that it doesn't account for all the nuance in psychology. How do you account for all that with your definition of gender? You
I
can't.
don't think
You
you're.
can't
No,
do
I
that. That's the
can.
problem with your definition.
No, there's no problem with my definition. My problem is that you refuse to understand my definition.
I
The
understand your
fact, okay,
definition, Mari. I
if you're saying,
understand your definition of woman. It's just not
I'm
updated
telling
with the
you that
current
a woman
understanding.
is a
Stop,
describe.
stop, stop,
Oh,
stop, 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 stop. Again, I can show you science
I get you.
demonstrating.
You're right. Oh, hold on. You're right. But
No, we're not. I'm not going to do this. If you can't even understand what I'm telling you, we can't debate. I understand that your definition is adult female. The problem is it doesn't explain and doesn't account for all the nuance behind gender. You understand that there's entire fields of gender theory and there's all kinds of debate about this within gender theory. And to reduce it to something as trivial as your genitalia, that misses out on clarity that my definition accounts for. The science demonstrates that gender is more complicated than just if you have a peepee or not. My definition accounts for gender dysphoria. Yours doesn't. Mine accounts for the psychological and neurobiological patterns that align with gender identity. Yours doesn't. That's why your definition is far lacking in utility. My definition, and then the current updated definition, is better. It works. It understands what transgender people are. You're just like, no, trans is not a thing. That's not a good thing when trans people really exist and there's science to back it up. You're just gonna say, no, my definition better. That's a problem. That's a problem.
So what you just said goes against what you were saying like 2 seconds before. You were saying that that I shouldn't be saying my definition is better than yours after saying that your definition is better than ours, which doesn't make sense at all.
I backed it up though. I showed you why ours is better because it accounts for the psychology and the neurobiology behind gender. Yours doesn't. So that's why yours is outdated. See?
Why do you feel that it's outdated?
Because the science demonstrates that there's more nuance behind gender than just if you have a peepee or not.
That's not like real science though.
You want me to give you?
It's a theory.
Do you want me to give you the studies?
Yes, actually.
Okay. Here's one. Look this one up, buddy. Sex versus gender associations with brain structure. Study shows that gender was correlated to the brain structure, not sex. They found that female sex, independent of continuum scores, was associated with larger proportion adjusted volumes for basal ganglia, hippocampus, ventral diencephalon. These are brain structures that give rise to gender. Another one, neurobiological characteristics associated with gender identity. The findings find that specific transgender neural signatures were observed, suggesting a unique brain phenotype. Now, how does your definition of woman account for these things?
It doesn't, and that's the whole reason.
That's the problem.
Okay.
Your definition doesn't account for the nuance.
That's why we have another definition, which is trans women. It's a different group of
That's people. A gender that aligns with my definition of gender, not yours.
It's saying that trans women are separate from women and that they're their own group entirety. Like
what are they? What is their what are they then?
Trans women. That's why we have that title for them.
That's a gender identity that can be categorized as a woman. Like, that fits under the woman category.
It's different though. It's a trans.
What's the difference?
The difference is that they don't have XX chromosomes.
That's not gender. That's sex. And that definition of sex is outdated because we find now that some people are born with XY chromosomes, but they actually have female genitalia. There's
That's because of
there's all
surgery.
that definition, that binary definition, does not account. It does not is not clear enough to account for those other things. Mine does account for those things. That's why we have
It
to update our definitions.
I feel like the definition is separate term for trans women is because they are different. They're not the exact same as all like
They
women that
are
are.
identical to women because they are women. They
They're
literally have
identical, but they're
women
not the same
brains.
thing.
They have women brains. They're women.
They have the same genitalia, but they're like
It's
they
not
can
has
have the
nothing to do
same
with
genitalia.
genitalia. That's to do with their brain.
They don't have the same chromosomes. They have
It
X, Y
has
chromosomes.
nothing to do with chromosomes or genitalia. It has to do with your brain. Do you understand what gender means?
Yes, I'm pretty sure.
Okay, what is gender according to me in the science?
According,
In the science.
well, I don't know what your definition is because you're coming up with new ones.
No, this is the current understanding in gender theory. See, there's an entire field of gender studies that describes gender theory, in which gender is described as neurobiological patterns and neurochemical patterns in the brain that give rise to gender identities and social roles and socially constructed roles. That's the current new understanding of gender. Yours is the old one, the one from the 1950s, which doesn't account for all the science. Mine does. So are you going to actually counter the one I'm describing? Or are you just going to say, no, women are just XX chromosomes?
Women are not XX chromosomes. Well, they are, but sorry, I got confused for a second. But the difference is the reason we have a term for trans women is because they're different. They're
What do you
similar, like
mean
you
they're
said, but they're
different? What
not
do
the
you
exact same
look?
thing.
Look, I don't think you are equipped to actually. You don't have the capacity to be in this debate. I don't think you know what you're talking about.
Pretty rude.
Trans women are women because they fit in the category of woman, because woman is just a gender identity in which any person can have who aligns with that gender identity.
But
So
the
it's not even, there's no
definition
difference
that
between a trans woman and a woman. They're the same things, they're identical. That's what a trans woman is, a woman.
you can't change. Okay, so what you're saying is that you want the definition to change because you feel it's outdated.
No, the science demonstrates is outdated. The current understanding of gender shows it's outdated. And I showed you it's outdated today multiple times.
The I just don't. I don't think like. Are you hearing what I'm saying? Because I don't understand what you're trying to tell me.
I can tell. Have a good alien and learn. Learn about gender. If you're coming up here and telling me a woman is an adult human female, it means you haven't learned. You haven't learned about what gender means. You haven't learned what woman means. You haven't learned what transgender means. You haven't learned the science. And that's okay to not understand. But go and learn. This is your call to learn about who people are, who trans people are. And that they're born that way, just like we're born this way. There's, there's a motivation to hate others today, right? There's lots of political motivation to hate trans people because it's the cool thing to do. It makes you look cool. The problem is that this is going to bite you in the butt in the long term. The facts are going to come back and bite you in the ass. Go learn the psychological studies. Go learn the neurological studies. Go learn the science. Go understand gender. That's all I ask you guys to do. Yeah, that's all I can tell you. I'm not here to say that you know, you're transphobic for not believing me. No, I'm not saying that. I don't want to put any negative energy out there. All I'm doing is trying to help you understand. I really do sincerely care that you understand. That's why I care that people don't talk over me, and they don't turn off their ears when they just want to yap. I want a good dialogue. And we haven't really gotten that today, to be honest. So, yeah, any other questions before I go? I'm getting tired. What's a woman? A woman is a gender identity in which somebody aligns with female sex typical traits. What? That's crazy. That's crazy. Well, go learn. Go learn what that means. You don't understand what that means. If you're calling it crazy, it means you don't understand it, right? It's just like in the 1950s when people understood quantum mechanics. Like, that's crazy. You're putting the cat in the box and it does two things at once? That's crazy. Well, now we know that's a fact. Now we understand that really happens. And it wasn't crazy. It was crazy back then. But now we've learned. It just took time for people to learn, right? So look, and the more we talk about this, the better. So if if you have the ability to do these debates and talk about these things, do it. Because talking about these things is important. Can men do that? Now, this is a linguistics concern, right? Now you're invoking something called prototype theory in linguistics. Well, if a woman wears dresses and makeup, well, why can't a man do that? Well, what is a truck? What is a truck versus a car? Well, a truck is bigger than a car. Well, there are some cars that are bigger than trucks. Well, trucks have beds. Well, some cars have beds. Look at the El Camino or the Subaru Outback. They have beds. Does that mean they're trucks? No. Well, trucks can tow things. Well, how about some cars? Some cars can tow things. Does that mean they're trucks? No. See, words are inherently fuzzy. They're blurry. When we use them, there's no way we can perfectly objectively distinguish one word from another, and in such that there are no traits that one thing has that another thing doesn't have. And this is called prototype theory, in which all we have to do are understand degrees of categorization. And so when we say something's a truck, we don't mean that it meets a set number of traits that a truck has. What we mean there is it's good enough. It's sufficient enough for us socially, culturally, and it has enough standout traits that it fits the truck definition. But it doesn't. It's just blurry. There's no objective definition, and that's the inherent problem with linguistics. And that's why, just like you can't distinguish a truck between a car in every single way, you can't do that with a woman versus a man in every single way. Although we can make distinctions, they're just the best we can. They're just approximate. They're maximal distinctions. They're not perfect distinctions, and that's the inherently fuzzy nature of linguistics. So, yeah, it is semantics, and that's why semantics is important for these kinds of discussions. Because if you don't understand semantics, when you ask what a woman is, you're going to be lost. You're not going to understand the nuances there, and let alone the science. So, look, it's a very complicated thing to understand. For the past 1,000 years, all we had to do is ooga booga, man or woman, that's it. But now, as we learn more about each other, we have to update our understanding to fit the complexity of the world around us. And I hope you can learn something today. I hope you did.